trying to boot up his PC. Get the laptop over there. Welcome to Section 31, episode number 380. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
I don't think either one of us are feeling 100% this week, so we're going to do a quick kind of recap of what we watched. We're going to talk about, I got all the bins up. Some of them are sitting here. We got a lot of that. Some more dice, a bunch of some of these singles, some secret stuff that I'm not going to even show during the raffle. I'll get that sent off to everyone, and then people can talk about it if they wish. But
and when is that?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It's early next month.
Cool.
Yeah, because we got the look forward to do. The bins are open, so dump your tickets in, and we got that to look forward to. I think it's got to be like the second Sunday of something I should know.
Sounds like Easter.
Yeah, something like that. So I think last time we were so excited to talk about the Oroville. We talked about that first. This time, though, I did my job. I did my homework and watched The Cage. Did I do that Wednesday night? I think it was Wednesday night. So I watched The Cage. That was great. I mean, it's been a long time since I watched it, and it was kind of fun just to see. There was a lot of stuff I just did not remember at all. So I'm glad I watched it.
Nice.
And then, since I was just cutting up cards, I watched The Menagerie Part 1, and then
oh wow,
I watched The Menagerie Part 2, and then I think at that point I finally turned it off because it was getting early in the morning. And I'm glad I watched them both. I'm glad I watched everything. We did get a recap right at the beginning, but it was interesting to see what was just a little bit different from, because the Menagerie Part 1 and 2 take from The Cage, obviously, but they just changed a little bit at the end to make it a happier story. Did you ever catch that?
I didn't.
So
I don't think I've ever watched them consecutively.
So if you remember at the end of The Cage, and I think they showed this, they didn't show that this part. So at the end of The Cage, Pike watches his illusionary double wander off with Vina, right? That's not what happens in the Menagerie. In the Menagerie, she just walks away, and Pike's like, "Well, that's tough for her, but at least she's got her looks." And then at the end of the Menagerie, they show him after he beams down in his Spock wheels him out in his his blink one for twice, yes, and no for twice for no, his wheelchair thing. After he beams down, they show Pike walking away, old Pike from the cage, the very last scene, walking away with Vina. So the implication is he beamed down in his feeble state, and that's why he was trying to get there. That's why Spock was trying to get him there, so that he could live the rest of his life in his his illusionary state, which is great, great for him. But so that was a weird little shift that they did but it seemed to match. They kind of had it both ways, because it sounded like Vina implied to Pike, who didn't know, that there was another Pike that she was with on Talos 4, right?
Right.
So we still have for him his end of life to look forward to when he goes there, and it's the, I guess, real Pike that goes with the real Vina.
Sure.
So what'd you think? I mean, I had a great time, especially having just seen it the previous day.
Well, I had so I got sick about half of last week, and so I was just starting to recover this weekend when I just started to watch it, and I had completely forgotten about our homework. So I just turned on Discovery, and then I laughed my ass off when
they did our homework for us.
Yeah, it did our homework for us, and so I paused, and it was like, Dan's going to do the homework. Except this is already here. And so I thought about just continuing so that we could compare notes to see how much more you got out of it versus how much I would have got out of just watching the previously. But I was like, I feel like I know The Cage pretty well. I don't think so. I just went ahead and watched it. I did not watch The Menagerie though. I felt like I was like, as I remembered it, the menagerie was largely just clips of the cage, and I knew
Yep.
the story of the menagerie, with Spock and the mutiny and the trying to get Pike there. So I did not watch that, although I'm interested to go and watch it again now. The thing that fascinated me was I did not, in our discussions last week, it didn't even occur to me, and I should have chronologically, that the cage would have already taken place before this episode, before Discovery. I didn't really do the mental math on that, but it totally makes sense. So this is obviously before the menagerie, but after the cage. And so there is already a background there.
Yeah, I had no
Uh,
idea.
I,
And
I,
so that means the menagerie is now the second time Spock decides that that's a good place to be for something or someone, right? It makes
yeah,
it certainly turns around the menagerie a little bit because watching that, they also mention that you're breaking the only rule in Starfleet that still has a death penalty, which is going to Talos 4.
yeah.
Which they brought up that it's it's like Genesis is forbidden. You can't go there. And she was breaking the rules, etc. And he was breaking the rules following them. Pike was going back, right?
Right.
I think
And
I
they were
remember them mentioning that.
yeah. And he's like, yes, I know. I'm the one who quarantined.
Right. Yeah. And I like was it Giorgio says, I killed him in my universe. And
It's like
someone
you couldn't have warned me.
someone said something to the effect of it was a picture of one of the Telosians with black sunglasses, and she said something like, "That's what we let her think." I like that.
Nice.
Everything about the episode was fun, though. I like the interaction between Giorgio and the person whose job she's going to be taking soon enough. The fake out with using Telosians, mental trickery to escape.
Yeah.
I
Goodbye,
thought I
Spock.
saw it, and so it was confirmed that Spock had a little bit of eyeshadow on to match his old. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was yeah, to
Links
match.
to the
Yeah.
past. Yeah.
Yep. Links to the past. I did find it curious that they were all like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Spock." I was like, she talked to Spock for like 2 seconds, and I don't think there were any direct interaction. Like, they knew who he was probably from them beaming the party down, but
Probably a lot of Pike's mind too.
yeah, but the like uh buddy like, oh, hey, it's been so long since we've seen you, and like, I don't know, maybe they've been mentally communicating with him to lure him there to begin with. I mean, that is what his coordinates were saying. So but I thought that was a little bit funny. But in general, I agreed. It was definitely like exposition heavy. It was like, okay, now we're going to tell you everything that's what's behind this whole thing, mostly, or at least this part of it. Exposition step one, but in a way that was, pretty not boring for an exposition episode.
Yeah. No, and they hit just enough of the things that people who just watched the other three episodes back to back wanted to see. They had the singing plants, which with super extra effects.
Yeah.
They had the Telosian with one of them with that the medallion, and a couple others in the background. I think they changed one of the genders, but that's fine. They gave him a weird nose thing that looked very different from the other ones, but I guess they were just trying to make him a little more alien. That's fine. And they did the same pan in on the bridge at the very beginning that they did in the menagerie, which was that was perfect.
A very nice touch. Very nice touch.
Yep.
And I also really liked, like, kind of Talos aside, we finally got to find out why Burnham was so reluctant to see Spock, and the backstory of why they're sort of estranged. And man, did I love the staging is the wrong word because it's a show, but I guess the cinematography, the direction they did for that whole scene, going back and forth between it happening with them as kids and it being relived with them as adults.
Yeah, it was very
Really,
well done. The
really,
child
really
actor they got
powerful.
for Mini Spock was fantastic, I thought.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and
yeah, that was great.
yeah, and then him being like, "No, it's cool. I shouldn't have idolized you anyway. It helped me embrace logic because you were such a terrible role model." It's like, damn.
Yeah. What? When are we gonna get? I mean, there's got to be some kind of Cybok at some point, right?
I think it's before all of this. As I recall, Cybok is the eldest.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sarek marries a princess, a Vulcan princess, has Cybok.
I thought
She
Cybok was half human. Was I wrong about that?
nope. Cybok is actually the only full Vulcan that Sarek has. Apparently, maybe that soured him. Uh, as I recall, yeah, for the tale from Star Trek V, Sarek marries a Vulcan princess. That's his original prearranged Vulcan marriage. She dies in childbirth, having Cybok. Not entirely sure what happens to Cybok at that point, but by the time we get around to Amanda, Vulcans are long lived enough that he could have been an adult and gone off on his own before he even marries Amanda and has Spock. So, and they find Michael.
Okay, very good. Then I'm less concerned. I didn't realize the timeline. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
And that would make more sense that, was someone that Michael never met and, there's no connection there. Okay. Very good.
Yeah. Can I give you my nitpick note of the night?
Please.
Did you notice the admirals who were lecturing them at the end?
Yeah, let's see. Was there an Orion? No, not Orion. An Andorian?
Yeah, it looked like there was one of each.
A Vulcan?
Of the a Vulcan admiral.
Right. A Vulcan admiral. So that would mean that Spock is not the first officer in Starfleet?
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I mean, it's not a huge deal.
Maybe. Okay, I can fix it. Maybe she was a high-ranking Vulcan officer who just transferred after Spock had gone through the academy. So he was still the first, but she was just, given the rank of admiral as a posting in Starfleet. How's that?
Yeah, okay, I buy it. I was trying to think of something like that. Like maybe they were just like Federation officials and not actually admirals. They kind of were like, they had brassy, clearly one step up uniforms, but they know it. I don't think anybody ever called them admiral or that one specifically. But I was like, now I get it. The high ranking Vulcan military, and they give them a direct commission instead of, but maybe Spock is the first to have gone to the academy and come up as an officer. I could buy that.
Ooh, speckle.
Yeah. There's a lot of speckle.
All right,
but all in all, it's a teeny tiny thing. So,
we also had some beard guy versus dead guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, subplot
the
stuff.
doctor.
Yeah.
I like the doctor, but I really don't care about Tyler at all. So it was kind of like on the fence. You said beard guy though, and it made me think of her comment about Spock's beard.
That's right. You really think it's working?
Which was like the best line of the episode.
I wonder, I wonder if she actually just made that up on the spot, or if that was a line.
That was such a great exchange too. I wasn't asking for an answer; it was purely rhetorical. Well, how about you ask a rhetorical question that's something I haven't asked already? Okay, fine. Do you really think that beard is working for you?
So, help me out. At the end of the episode, Spock's put back together again, right? He's back in his.
It seems like, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the one he has. So, and his advice was to run. So now they're fugitive ship now, whatever. I do like that that captain speech that everyone has to give. I had a great interview, and they just cut it short. Let's just go.
Captain,
All right.
I really think we should get out of here.
Yeah, that was good. I like that.
That was great. Yeah.
And I so everything's ready to go. I guess I'm hoping we get back. No more chasing Spock. We're no more trying to figure. We can actually start solving problems. Spock's gonna be in his right mind. Is Burnham the science officer on the ship? Because now we have two.
It's Burnham is a specialist because apparently it's a thing in this time period that you're. I mean, maybe it is, maybe just on the ships that we know, but why is the only word I can think of is Kelpian? Saru. Saru is technically the science officer as well as the first officer. But Burnham is a specialist. She's a xenobiologist and, handles specific things pertaining to, but she's definitely a science officer. I don't know if she's technically the science officer or if there is a chief science officer in their hierarchy, but last I checked, Saru was supposed to be the main science officer. So, and we have lots of science. Science times 5.
That's a lot more than TNG. That bridge crew is scienced out. All right.
Yeah, they're like, nah, we don't need a science officer. It's just assumed. It's like IT. We just assume that everybody has a base level of science knowledge, that we do not need a dedicated science officer per se. We have an operations officer who can look stuff up about science if we need to.
Very good. All right. Anyway, this was a good kind of culmination of a lot of stuff. The search for Spock, as it were. We got a great tie-in, and my fears of this being the end of Pike were completely alleviated. Apparently, we'll have to wait for the end of the season until we get a new captain.
Yeah. Got to finish the school year out.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll see who's next. But that was pretty good. I think my subscription for CBS is coming up. Do you know how many more episodes we have? How many more weeks we have? Because I might just let it go for another $10. We'll see.
That's a good question. I'm sure. Let's see, IMDb.
Yeah. So
Discovery, because they tend to have a schedule.
Yeah, I mean, if there's going to be another long break, I might just put it on pause and then watch a bunch of them when I come back and it's ready to go. But then again, I certainly have been enjoying myself, and I'll say it's probably been worth the $2 an episode that I've been paying.
Well, they have a schedule up through episode 13 of 14, and they are all chronological. So it does not look like we're going to get a big mid-season break like we did last time. In fact, I think we would have had it already.
Okay, then I'm in. I'll just keep it for the next couple.
Because that was episode 8, and I think they stopped on 7 last year.
Okay, fantastic. Then I might just keep it up. We'll see how it goes. They've earned at least that much this time around. Meanwhile, anything else before we move on to that other show?
Nope.
All right. We got a interesting kind of a mystery plus diplomacy plus. Yeah, it was an interesting an episode of the Orville. We got a couple of bad guys who they've sent to make peace. Meanwhile, they picked up a few strays, and the bad guys want them back, and they've been accused of doing something, and it seems to be there's no way that they could have done it when, of course, they did it all along. And then Gordon had to have kind of crisis of conscience and had to make a kind of a commanding decision, right? And there's the catatonic daughter reminded me a lot of the episode from DS9 of the four
Serena.
Yeah, Serena. The way she was lit, the makeup, it reminded me of it a lot.
Me too.
And the way it was acted. Not the same actress, right?
No.
Okay, good. All right. That was too weird. There were enough twists that I didn't see any of the. I mean, over arc, that things were likely to go the way they did, but I was pretty happy with each of the major plot points. The kind of figured he was turning on his friend, but didn't really see the way it was going. So that was nice. What else had happened? The girl being the catalyst, so to speak. That was interesting. And I really like the signing at the very end where they actually wrote their names in pen and it was lighting up. That was pretty cool. I don't know if that was effect or they just had a tablet that lit up as you typed as you wrote, because that's something we could do now. But
Right.
it looked really nice.
Just a stylus.
Yeah, and I think I saw one of the Kree. Is that the guy? Bad guys?
Yeah.
All right. Was that?
No, not the Kree. We did that last time. Krill.
The Krill. Sorry.
Right. Gee, I wonder why Kree is on the brain.
Yeah. One of the Krill was Silic from Enterprise.
Oh yeah, Robert Atkins Downs.
Could be.
Or something like that.
All right. Anyway,
he's also a semi-regular in the later seasons of Babylon 5. That's how I remember him.
Okay, makes sense.
But yeah, Silic.
We need to have Mark Alamo as one of those guys.
Oh yeah,
that would be pretty good.
Would be great.
Guy Romulan, Cardassian, and now a Krill. That'd be fantastic. All right. Any other major points I missed? I thought it was a pretty good. After the big, massive 2-part, huge stuff. We still got to see a little bit of combat. I was expecting the rest of the season to be, no special effects, but we still got some good stuff. We got the shuttle flying around and people jumping out of it, and him in a tractor beam was, maybe not the best CGI, but it was different.
Yeah, after we've been having,
week, right?
Yeah, we had the great 2-parter, and then so it was, we're bound to be, I don't know if let down is the right word, but I don't know. One of the things I've really enjoyed about the Orville is that they have come up with new. I mean, it's clearly they're trying to be next generation. Nobody's disputing that, least of all them. And that's great. We can't have more next generation. They won't go back and make more. So this is it. We wouldn't want it if they did, because they wouldn't have the original cast. They don't want to recast them. They don't want to make it a clone of the new show within the same Star Trek. So this is our way of getting next generation without it being next generation. But they've always found a good way of taking, it's like a different take on a story they've done before, or finding stories that TNG didn't get to touch, either because they didn't have time or because it's a new modern era, and there's a different allegory to tell. And this is the first time where I really kind of felt like they were not phoning it in, I guess, but it was just kind of cookie cutter. It was an important story that they touched on. There was nothing wrong with the way they acted it. It wasn't poorly written. It was just kind of predictable. And I was borderline bored. Like, I enjoy the characters, but I kind of saw where it all was going. I didn't see the sidekick being, I thought that there was something suspicious about her, but I didn't follow along enough for her, the blood being a cool race, because we don't know, there's all these new races. That was like the one cool twist, that they have toxic explosive blood that he could be using for that. I had just assumed, because they specifically mentioned, like, oh yeah, we ran out of plasma and we couldn't make it back to Union space, and they're talking about making plasma bombs. I was like, oh okay, well he used those containers to siphon off plasma, and that's how he blew up the ships. So that was a cool red herring if you were mentally tracking that. But I don't know, I was like, yeah, he's a patriot. Yeah, he's been doing it. We're not supposed to. He's gonna be friends with one of the crew, and I don't know. It was not their best offering. I liked the way they set it up with the Krill, and of course it was going to be, oh well, give us the prisoner or we're not going to have peace, and oh, we can't have peace because that's forgiving all of these sacrifices, and It was just a little tired to me.
Fair enough.
And it was not a new enough take on the story that I felt like it was warranted being redone.
All right, I can see that. I did like that this wasn't the peace process. This was the first step in a longer process.
Yeah.
So there's still more story to tell there. And I did like him being called on as, look, you're not a diplomat. We've seen what you do. Not good. But these guys, and you can get this first step started and then hand it off to the people who can really manage the details. That was interesting. I like that.
That part I did like because it was like a symbolic gesture. It was, this is the person we have the most contact with in your group. We want him to be the person that makes this because, we know him and we'll sort of go along with that. That was cool. And it was a good way to make them involved without it being sort of unbelievable that, oh no, we want him to be the diplomat, even though he's not one, or, forcing in, an extraneous character where it's like, oh, you're going to transport this ambassador to go do it.
Yep. So and we also got more cool. Ambassador Sam Malone, so that was nice.
Yes,
that's awesome. I just hope we keep getting random, just people that
Admiral of the Week.
Yes,
absolutely. That's like the best.
It makes me sad that we're not getting cards of all these random.
Oh my god, yeah, that'd be so cool. But that's such a great mechanism for me, like, oh, this is the it's Admiral other celebrity that wants to be on the show, or that's a buddy of Seth MacFarlane.
And if they have a good time, they come back, like Admiral Nechayev came back for DS9 episodes and all over the place. So that was great.
That was cool. Speaking of, I know I mentioned it to somebody and I can't remember if we talked about it on the show. Speaking of Seth MacFarlane's obsessions with paralleling various Star Treks.
Yeah.
I happened to notice in the credits a couple of weeks ago, the voice of the computer is his wife.
That's fantastic. That is brilliant. Oh man, I wonder how long he's planned to do that. That's great. If she shows up as a nurse, we'll know. But it's the voice of the computer. That's brilliant. Fantastic.
I'm more like my headcanon is that like he's been obsessing about doing the show forever and she's just like been vaguely tolerating it, and she's finally like, fine, if you ever get this done, I get to be the computer.
That's brilliant. I like it. All right. Like I said, I'm exhausted, so I think we'd probably wrap this up pretty quick unless you have anything else.
I think so.
All right, good.
We'll have 2 new episodes again this week, and we'll give it another week. There's another big nerdy event happen this week, which is the release of Captain Marvel. You have not seen it yet, and I'm sure some people have also not as well, so we should talk about it. But oh my God, people should see it so we can talk about it and continue making the mistake of Kree or Krill.
Right. That's where I got that in my head. I didn't even see the movie and I'm making that mistake. I'm going to wonder why they don't. Okay. Anyway, that sounds good. All right. Then let us adjourn until next week.
All right. Yes. That's all the intelligence we have this week. I am Sir Rogue.
I'm Sir Dan.
And I'll remind you all to expand your power in the universe.
And I will draw it in.